Welcome back to Timeless Messages from the I Ching. This is Stephen. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. So the question for this particular video is, what are the most important messages for the viewers at the time they find this video? Most important messages for viewers at the time they find this video. And whenever that is, whether it's in 10 days, 2 weeks, 2 years, it doesn't matter because the messages are timeless. So without further ado, if you'd like to close your eyes and relax, I'll begin the interpretation. The hexagram that came through is number 62, preponderance of the small. Preponderance means an excess or the majority, when something is in the majority. So this is the emphasis is on small things. Here we go, preponderance of the small. While in the hexagram Takua, preponderance of the great, number 28, the strong lines dominate and are within, enclosed between weak lines at the top and the bottom. The present hexagram, preponderance of the small, has weak lines on both sides, on the bottom trigram and on the top trigram. And this indeed is the basis of an exceptional situation indicated by the hexagram. When strong lines are outside, we have the hexagram providing nourishment, number 27, or Chung Fu, inner truth, number 61. But neither of those hexagrams represents an exceptional state. When strong elements within are in the majority, they necessarily enforce their will, and this creates struggle and exceptional conditions in general. Yet in the present hexagram of preponderance of the small, it is the weak element that must mediate with the outside world. So we have the yin lines, 2 yin lines on the bottom trigram and 2 yin lines or broken lines on the top trigram, with 2 yang lines in the very center of this hexagram. So in the present hexagram, it is the weak element that has to mediate with the outside world. So if a person occupies a position of authority for which they are by nature really inadequate, extraordinary caution and prudence are necessary. The judgment, preponderance of the small, success, perseverance furthers. Small things may be done. Great things should not be done. The flying bird brings the message. It is not well to strive upward. It is well to remain below. Great good fortune. Exceptional modesty and conscientiousness are sure to be rewarded with success. However, if a person is not to throw themselves away, it is important that they should not become empty forms and subservient. Subservient meaning, oh yes, I'll just obey everything and be of service to everything and not have an attitude or an idea of my own, being completely subservient. But this person should be combined always with a correct dignity in personal behavior. In other words, it's good to value your own thoughts, to be of service, of course, but not to just be an empty robot that's always of service and doesn't have some sort of unique outlook and contribution besides that. So we must understand the demands of the time in order to find the necessary solutions for any deficiencies or damages. In any event, we must not count on great success, since the needed strength is lacking. In this lies the importance of the message, that a person should not strive after lofty things, but rather should hold to lowly things. So not strive after things way up high, but keep to things that are within reach. The structure of the hexagram gives rise to the idea that this message is brought by a bird. In Takuo, preponderance of the great, number 28, the 4 strong heavy lines within, supported only by 2 weak lines on the outside, give the image of a sagging ridgepole. The roof is about to collapse in that particular hexagram. But here in this hexagram, preponderance of the small, the supporting weak lines are both outside and in the dominant position in the majority. And this gives the image of a soaring bird. But a bird should not try to surpass itself and fly into the sun like Icarus. A bird should descend to the earth where its nest is. In this way, the bird gives the message conveyed by the hexagram. The image, thunder on the mountain, the image of preponderance of the small. Thus, in conduct, the superior person gives emphasis to reverence. In bereavement and sorrow, they give emphasis to grief. And in their expenditures or spending, they give emphasis to thrift. So the idea of moderation in spending, in sorrow giving emphasis to grief rather than the elaborate ceremony. Think about the content. The important thing is to feel your emotions, to feel the grief of the loss of someone who's passed, for example. And in their regular conduct throughout the day, they give emphasis to being reverent and respectful. So they try to maintain a balance and keep focused on what's really important, the content. Thunder on the mountain is different from thunder on the plains. In the mountains, thunder seems much nearer. Outside the mountains, it is less audible than the thunder of an ordinary storm. Thus, the superior person takes an imperative from this image. The superior person must always fix their eyes more closely and more directly on their duty than does the ordinary person, even though this might make their behavior seem petty or insignificant to the outside world. The superior person is exceptionally conscientious, attentive to detail in all their actions. In sadness and bereavement, emotion means more to the superior person than ceremoniousness. So the ceremony is not as important as the actual real emotion, the feeling. In all their personal expenditures, they are extremely simple and unpretentious. They're not putting on airs. They're not trying to impress anybody. In comparison with the person of the masses, all this makes the superior person stand out as exceptional. But the essential significance of the superior person's attitude lies in the fact that in external matters, the superior person is on the side of the lowly. So the superior person is on the side of the underdog, if you will, the person who is struggling, on the lowly. They're not on the side of the upper echelon, the rulers who are living fat and high on the hog. So this hexagram is really exemplified by the idea of a bird that knows it's time to head back to its nest and doesn't try to fly too high and surpass itself or try to fly into the sun. So it gives the image of this particular hexagram. Be content with attaining small things. Don't try to reach after lofty goals or objectives right now. This is not the right time. The particular situation that is unfolding describes that this time is actually better for staying with more earthly, lowly goals than trying to reach for very heavenly goals. So, and the other idea is that you shouldn't just be an empty servant. You want to actually have your own unique characteristics and share who you are. You don't want to just be an empty robot that's always obeying everything that it's told. In this way, you can work on your own character and your own behavior, and by putting slightly different energy of respecting yourself and your own uniqueness out there as you're living, then that just is going to come back to you through the agency of other people and their interactions with you, which will be very supportive of you. And it'll make you feel like you're not just in a subservient or serving position. You're not just a robot. You have many, many unique attributes, and those need to be emphasized and shared. So just like thunder, the beautiful thunder on the mountain. So, and the idea here is that you want to share from your content. When the superior person is sharing, let's say at a funeral, when they're in sorrow, they're in a grieving state, it's the emotion that they feel, the grief that they feel, that's the most important thing. It's not the elaborate decorations or the flowers or the ceremony that's important. It's the emotion that's important. So really the superior person here, who is living in the time of preponderance of the small, is all about the content in the way that they conduct themselves. And so they give emphasis in their everyday conduct to being reverent, to being respectful. And in their spending, they give an emphasis to being thrifty. They don't go out and spend more than they should. So they have a lot of moderation, respect, reverence, and their conduct reflects that of the superior person's values. And thus being attuned to this type of virtuous conduct and character, you are able to strengthen yourself and your own character for then making steps upward, up the mountain, whatever that mountain happens to be for you. You strengthen yourself, your character, your conduct, so that the next steps you do take, in whatever direction that is, are strengthened by the way in which you have been able to conduct yourself when you're not necessarily in a position to realize great and lofty objectives. And that's okay. Every moment can't be an opportunity to realize great and lofty objectives. And so, but it can be an opportunity to expand and evolve and allow the virtuous conduct within to be established even more firmly and strongly in your own being. So these are really the essential attributes that this hexagram is describing. The particular situation that you find yourself in is one in which you can evolve and allow that inner virtue, that inner character, that modesty, that moderation, and the emphasis on what's really important, the content, the feeling, the expression of reverence and respect and so forth, to come through your being. And even though you may not be able to attain the most lofty of objectives right now, that's okay. You're attaining other things right now, which is just as important. And finally, just to reiterate that modesty, being modest and conscientious, or being attentive to details, essentially not being egotistical, not being filled with yourself and thinking of yourself and what you want and what you need excessively, but being modest, being moderate, and being attentive to details. Okay, these are sure to be rewarded, but you don't want to become an empty robot, just, always being of service and subservient. You want to be able to help and serve others, of course, but you also want to have personal dignity in terms of respecting yourself. So modesty and conscientiousness are wonderful qualities, but also don't forget to be yourself and express yourself. And of course, do this in such a way that you're not going to offend or hurt others. That's always a good quality. So do be modest and do be conscientious and attentive to details, but also have that personal respect for yourself, that personal dignity that you can have, knowing that you are a very unique and worthwhile individual, not just an empty robot. And in entering into the qualities of the superior person, that you will remember that it is very important for you to focus more closely than others upon your duty. Your duty is very important, whatever that duty may be. Maybe you have a loved one who needs help right now, a friend, whomever you need to help. It is a duty that you take upon with compassion and reverence and respect, because you're entering into the qualities of the superior person. And duty is something that this person focuses on, must always focus on more closely and more directly than the ordinary person. And of course, to reiterate the idea of sadness, sorrow, and bereavement, such as a loss, it's the expression of your emotions that are the most important thing. So get into those expressions, those feelings. Rather than being focused on the external ceremony, get into the content, the emotions. In your expenditures, in your spending, be the extremely simple and unpretentious person. You're not out there to impress anyone as the superior person. And all this will make you stand out as exceptional in comparison to the ordinary person. Because the essential significance of the superior person is their attitude, and they're always on the side of the lowly, the underdog, always able to help and assist, to bring that underdog, that lowly person or animal up a notch or two to a better place. So this is the message of preponderance of the small. Be like the bird that's content to come back to its nest rather than to fly too high. And get in touch with those qualities within, which are really your virtuous character that never go away and you take with you when you leave this plane of existence. Thanks for tuning in. I hope it helps, and take care.